Hey everyone, I'm Jay and I do stuff. Last year marked the 20th anniversary of Pokemon the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back. To honor the occasion, they completely remade the original movie in average to ugly CGI. But other than that, it's roughly the same movie still. Currently, the movie has been out in Japan for a while now. It took quite a while for the West to receive an English dub release, but now we have an actual confirmed release on Netflix. However, these days the English dub of the Pokemon anime is not held in high regard by fans. Not to mention the movie remake itself never got a whole lot of hype, mostly due to another Pokemon movie being released the same year. But I'm hoping to change that with not 5, but 6 reasons why you should see it and why you should see it in English on Netflix. Keep in mind that while I do overall prefer English dubbed anime, I'll try to come at these with as fair and unbiased perspective as I can, unlike some people. Number 1. Original script and better localization. The original Mewtwo Strikes Back movie received quite a lot of changes in the translation to English, more than you may think. For one, Mewtwo's character was drastically different in the dub than the Japanese version. In the original, Mewtwo was a confused powerhouse and often questions his own existence. In the English dub, Mewtwo was written as more of a generic villain who planned on using cloned Pokemon to take over the world. Not to mention the meaning of the movie was changed as well. The whole moral of Pokemon aren't meant to fight was only used in the dub, which by itself is pretty cringy and doesn't make a whole lot of sense considering fighting is one of Pokemon's core mechanics. Also, Mew's speech about how Pokemon and clones are all living life forms and that's what you do with your life that counts, that was only used for the dub. In the Japanese version, Mew actually says that the clones are inferior and that the real Pokemon will always triumph. There are many other sources that explain the differences better than I can, so let's get to my actual point. Back in the old days, 4Kids took a lot of creative liberties with the anime. Perhaps too many. Some of which involved changing elements of the stories. Not 4Kids One Piece bad, but enough to deviate from the original script at times. You have to try in order to be One Piece bad. But nowadays, the dub is handled by DUBBED. Say what you will about their quality, but at least they keep the script pretty accurate to the original Japanese version these days. I'm not exactly sure which script will be used for Evolution. I've heard people say that it takes liberties from the old 4Kids dub, but I can't tell for certain. If DUBBED can be at least a bit faithful to the original script with the new Evolution remake, I think we can see a pretty faithful English version of the original movie. Number 2, the release itself. The original Mewtwo movie came out at the peak of the Pokemania craze in the late 90s. So lots of old Pokemon fans have memories of seeing Pokemon on the big screen for the first time. Or even newer people seeing it for the first time with this new Evolution remake might find some enjoyment out of it. Unfortunately, unlike the last 2 recent Pokemon movies, Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution is not getting a theatrical release in the States. Instead, the movie is set to be put on Netflix on February 27th. It's a shame we won't get to experience the movie in theaters like we did in the old days. However, I never actually saw the original Mewtwo Strikes Back in theaters myself. I watched the VHS release, so I guess the lack of a theatrical release doesn't really bother me too much personally. Though, perhaps it's a good thing for everyone else. Most of everyone has a Netflix account these days, and having instant access to the movie is a lot better than having to track down a theater that is actually showing the movie. Though we will be missing out on potential freebies like special edition trading cards or game codes. But even then, some very ungrateful people will claim that the promo cards are lazy and hardly worth getting. You know who you are. TPCI didn't have to give out anything with these movies. The fact that they gave out anything in recent times showed that they at least care a little about their audience, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Number 3, a new take on an old classic. Nostalgia can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. When you let nostalgia completely cloud your vision, you close up the doors for anything new or any interesting opportunities. Case in point, most of the dub haters out there. Most people only see the 4Kids days of the Pokemon dub as the only version of the dub. They don't accept anyone else to portray the series or the characters. For example, Ash Ketchum, the main character, used to be voiced by Veronica Taylor. Nowadays, he's voiced by Sarah Natochenny. To sum it up, people hate Sarah because they like Veronica better, and thus completely disregard her. People also claim that because the people of the 4Kids cast aren't going to be in this remake, that their childhood will be tarnished. Look, things change. Everything changes! Nothing is bound to stay the same forever. Besides, even though this movie is a remake, there are still plenty of parts that have been changed or tweaked in evolution. So even if they manage to get the 4Kids cast voiced in this, it's still not going to be the exact same movie from 1999. Personally, I think this is a great opportunity for Sarah and the others at DUBBED to give their own take on the original movie. Sort of retro, if you will. A familiar yet new take on something that people know of. What I'm getting at is, keep an open mind. It may not be as bad as you may think if you take away the biased mindset. Also, don't trash the studio just for using newer people rather than reusing the old ones we've been hearing for decades. Everyone's gotta start somewhere, and it's not fair to flack them for the dub's lack of quality. But even then, some people are still going to be thick-headed and hate it regardless of what I bring up. But hey, it's their loss for being nostalgia-tards, I guess. Oh, and if you're going to let this movie ruin your childhood, then sorry to say, but you never had a childhood in the first place. Number 4, the background music. Now here's where things get a bit controversial. I don't think this should be much of an issue at all, but man do some people get pissy about background music. In the Pokemon anime, the background music is made up of remixes of songs from the games, composed by one Shinji Miyazaki. This held true for most of the English dub as well. But starting with the X and Y seasons of the anime, most of the background music in the dub has been made up of original compositions by Ed Goldfarb. Most people I see always completely crap on Goldfarb, saying his music is bland, terrible, and doesn't fit the mood of Pokemon at all. Now, most of these haters are either weeaboos who only enjoy the Japanese version, nostalgia-tards who think the 4Kids dub is perfect and everything else is trash, or crazy people who only care about background music and nothing else. As an unbiased, level-headed person myself, I really don't think Goldfarb's music is that bad. I will say, however, that his battle themes are kinda weak and that he relies a bit too much on cartoony xylophone sounds. But some of his music can actually sound quite beautiful. The only foot Miyazaki's music has over Goldfarb's, in my opinion, is that his compositions are themes from the actual Pokemon games. But even then, Miyazaki isn't perfect either. Kinda like Goldfarb, Miyazaki's music tends to be too reliant on a single instrument as well. In his case, all his songs have a heavy reliance on trumpets. And you thought the Gen 3 games were bad in that department? Now in terms of the more recent Pokemon movies, Goldfarb did most of the music in I Choose You. However, all of Miyazaki's music was kept for the dub of The Power of Us. I'm not sure whose music will be used in the dub of Evolution, But I think we can all agree that both their music beats cheesy 90s boy band songs like and let's not forget that music video of seriously, what does this have to do with Pokemon? Like I said before, keep an open mind. Unless of course you're overly biased, in which case you can screw right off. Number 5. Respect the people who work on the dub. Lots of people give DUBBED crap for being lazy with the quality of the dub. Some people even insist that they make bad business decisions and that anyone who likes what they do, let alone even care, are letting them get away with these bad decisions. You know who you are, don't think I forgot. But really, a lot of time and work go into making a translation and localization of a show that airs practically weekly than we may think. I can't speak for all the people who work on the dub, but some of the actors really do give it their all. A good example is a video posted by Pokemon Ranger Boy 12. In it, he shows a message from Haven Pascal, the voice of Serena from the X and Y series. At one point, she states she was actually crying in the recording booth during that one scene in the anime where Serena cuts her hair. Tell me, how can you fake legit tears? She also says that regardless of which version of the show we like, that we should all be respectful and accepting of each other's differences. You know, like any normal person would do. Now, no one is forcing you to see the dub. I'm not forcing you to see the dub. The whole point of this video was to show you that the dub isn't as bad as you may think it is. But at the end of the day, we need to remain respectful of everyone like Haven said. Criticism is one thing, but constantly calling the dub trash, using the hashtag #GoldFarbage, making fake social media accounts making fun of the people who are just doing their jobs, and especially shaming people who like it, making them feel bad, is disgusting. We're all people, both fans and the workers of the dub. No one deserves harassment. And number 6, some people prefer English voices. Remember back when I said I overall prefer English dubbed anime? Well, that's because I prefer listening to people talk in a language I understand. I've seen my share of subbed anime in the past, but to be honest, it was less enjoyable for me to just read everything the characters say. Plus, I don't know about you, but my eyes are often too busy reading subtitles rather than watching the animation and action. So I kinda miss out on that. This might be an issue for me because I am a slow reader, and I do have slight dyslexia. But I feel my point is still valid. I'm sure there are some other people out there who are just like me who feel the same way. Personally, I'll watch any English dub of an anime, no matter how bad it is. Just so I can at least get the general experience without stressing to read subtitles all the time. You can't get mad at people just for having different preferences. So no matter what you may think of something, it always has its own audience. Well, have I convinced any of you in the slightest? Again, I'm not trying to force you to watch the movie dubbed. I just wanted to shine some light on some of the positives of the dub and that some of these criticisms are kinda over-exaggerated. So if you do decide to see it, just remember to keep an open mind. Don't be stupid, or even worse, stubbornly biased. Remember, even if you don't like the Evolution remake, the original movie is not going anywhere. So feel free to keep watching that for eternity. But for now, I'll be anticipating seeing this like it's 1999 all over again. On Netflix. See you next time.